panel group. It's an honor and a pleasure to start, but I want you to start by knowing that exports are more than just the movements of goods and services across the border. They are the engines of growth. Competitiveness and opportunity. Strengthening our value chain means unlocking all the full potential that exists. I want to start off with some questions here from my team, and I'll try my best to involve you, the audience, as well. But don't blame me, please. There's a time frame that I've been given, and I have to live by that time frame. So don't blame me. Let's ask the organizers for more time next time. Let me start off with asking our team here a few questions here that I want to make sure that we're good on. We start with Mr. Wayne.
Sure.
What regional programs are available to support Belizean businesses in strengthening supply chain for export market?
All right. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Greetings from Caribbean Export. We're very grateful to the organizers, the government of Belize, to be able to participate here. It brings us a sense of joy to come to the Belize Investment Summit. This is 1 month after the Caribbean Investment Forum that we hosted in Jamaica. And by the strong representation here, it reinforces to us that the Caribbean continues to be the best place to do business. There is significant interest in doing business with and in the Caribbean. And so I feel compelled. The last 2 presentations spoke about the MSMEs and the importance, and you got some of the numbers this morning. But I wanted to remind you that MSMEs dominate trade in the Caribbean, right? And though we've been making remarkable inroads and progress into global markets, it's not been easy, and it's fraught with challenges and a lot of uncertainty. And so our Caribbean firms, they have to persevere. They've been putting a lot of sweat in, and they continue to contribute significantly. And it's from that backdrop then that I wanted to share with you a little bit about what I see at the regional level in terms of the support. Now, there are two levels to this support. This morning, you would have heard quite a bit of the support that goes through the governments to basically create a level playing field or a business-friendly environment whereby Caribbean firms can do what they do best, right, which is to focus on business. And you'll find quite a bit of this support coming from the similar entities you saw here just now, the IDB, the European Union, the Caribbean Development Bank, the IFC is also playing a role there. And so for me, I think of that support as the support that lifts all boats, right? It really just levels the playing field and creates some opportunities for everybody. But I think where I wanted to spend a little bit more time was on the support, and where you're asking me about the support that goes directly to the private sector to assist them in becoming more competitive and actually building out a lot of the structures that allow them to do better, right? Helping build their supply chains and really get the business of the private sector in order. And so I don't think you would grudge me if I focus a little bit on the work that Caribbean Export is doing while highlighting this. For us, we have 2 major programs that offer direct support to the Caribbean private sector. One is with the European Union. This is the Regional Private Sector Development Program. It's $12 million and through 12 million euros, and through it, what we do is we provide direct support to the Caribbean private sector. We assist in solving issues related to access to finance, export development, and we also do quite a bit of in-market support. As you can imagine, we focus on the European Union, the markets of the European Union, and we try to assist Caribbean firms to penetrate those markets. And so we have numerous opportunities that are always open. Belize and Belizean firms are eligible. And right now, we're actually looking for Caribbean firms to participate in some in-market activities that we'll be hosting in 3 European markets coming up very soon. Now, just to be clear, Belizean firms have been doing really well in our calls for firms. And just so you're aware, most of these calls are competitive. And so what we're looking for are, first of all, you need to be legally registered. So most of the entities that you would have heard speak this morning, one of the first requirements is that you're legally registered to participate. So get that hurdle out of the way and register. But for us, what we see on the regional level are quite a number of programs that also ask for counterpart resources, right? Many times they ask for sweat equity or in-kind contributions. We're looking for projects that are scalable and projects that have real tangible impact on lives and livelihoods. And then this,
But can
yeah,
I
go ahead.
ask you? We know that a big part of the getting into the market
Hmm.
also involves quality.
Yes.
Quality from a standpoint of the product. There's also the consistency standpoint. So many times we find that businesses require certification to get into the marketplace, primarily if you want to get into the premium market.
Yes.
What does your organization do then to assist, or what can you do to assist a Belizean entity who has interest in getting into that market?
Okay, let's speak about the European market yet again, because we have resources from the European Union to do just this. This morning, you heard from Professor Stein about pivoting. He said, target Mexico, try to double down on the US. But the European market, from his data, he would have showed that Belizean firms have been accessing the European market successfully. What it didn't mention there is that Belizean firms can access the European market utilizing the CARIFORUM EPA tariff-free and quota-free. And so it creates a really interesting opportunity for Belizean firms. So under that same support program, essentially what we've been doing is providing, sensitizing Caribbean firms to the CARIFORUM EU EPA, the benefits of it, providing standards and certification training.
Okay.
We've started on the basic level things, basic things like packaging and labeling standards, the things that usually trip up our firms really easy, and we go all the
HACCP?
way.
Do you do
Yeah,
HACCP for them?
yeah, and we also do the more complicated ones, right? Right now we're looking at a bunch of stuff related to carbon
Global
and emissions and that kind of thing. And so for us, standards, many of our firms see it as red tape. But essentially, the way we see it is it's almost like the cheat code. It's the code that kind of, once you can acquire it and you can get that certification, it now allows you to be on a level playing field and to compete globally with global brands, right? And so for us, it's one way of leveling up to really get into international markets. And we do provide that support directly to firms. We do provide sensitization, and it is our plan to partner with the government of Belize and to really support the entrepreneurship month in November to provide a lot of the sensitization and the training, and maybe even to work with the Chamber of Commerce in really disseminating the messages going forward.
Thank you, Wayne. David, what role do you see the MSME development strategies playing in the building a stronger and more connected value chain?
Good question. Just clarifying, Sempromipe is a very complicated name. So it's the Center for Promotion of MSMEs of the Sika region. If we wanted to change the name, it must be approved by the 8 parliaments of the 8 countries, so we keep it. MSME development strategy play a leading role because these companies constitute the backbone of the productivity and the productive product services sectors, and not only in Belize but in the 8 countries of the Sika region. They represent 96% of the businesses in the region, more than 70% of the export companies in the region. So that reflect the importance not only in job creation and domestic economic growth, but also in promoting international trade. Strengthening them means in practice working on the very core of the economic and social development of the countries and the export activities. A first key aspect is that a strategy aims at MSMEs, allow them to improve their productivity, management, innovation capacities, which increase the quality of the goods, as you were talking about before, and services that the country generates. This is essential in sectors with great potential for Belize, such agri-food, agro-industry, beverage, of course, tourism for all over the world, where improved quality and productivity standards allow companies to more easily integrate into regional and international value chains. I give you an example. We are structuring regional value chains. One example is in tropical fruits. We are now connecting businesses from 4 countries: Panama, Costa Rica, Honduras, and Guatemala, with the European market. We are working about 300 with 150 producers in these countries to get the European market. We are negotiating now about 150 containers of food, avocado, 12 containers of dry fruits, and 1 container of lyophilized fruit for gym industries. So we can negotiate in quality and in quantity if we put it together in these regional value chains.
So, David, what you just said sparked the attention of a number of Belizeans in here. So let me ask you this question then. How is it that the cross-border cooperation, we talk about Belize being the bridge, how is it that the cross-border cooperation within the region can enhance market access for Belizean product?
It's crucial for Belize. It's crucial for Belize in first of all in diversification of the export matrix. Belize depends of United States and the UK market. So if you make cross-border cooperation with Central America and the SICI region, you can avoid some other markets like Panama, Costa Rica, and Dominican Republic that have the chance to import the Belize products.
Right.
I give you an example.
Just was about to ask you that.
Yeah. For example, Dominican Republic. Can you imagine how which country sell the fish to Dominican Republic?
Tell us.
Vietnam. Vietnam. Yeah. It's so far from Dominican
Correct.
Republic.
Correct.
Belize has a big opportunity for the fish industry to Dominican Republic because the Dominican Republic is deficit area.
Right.
It has a deficit in fishing, and it has a huge tourism industry. And Belize has the experience to treating the high level tourism in that. That's one example. They bought the coffee to Vietnam too.
Okay.
Okay, so there are
Opportunities are there. That's
yeah,
what you're getting at.
absolutely.
Thank you very much. You know, all of that is possible, but without the long arms of the policymakers. So I'll have to ask Mr. Andy, what policies are being implemented to improve trade facilitation and reduce export barriers? A tough one, right? But
Thank you, Nick. Certainly
You
an
have 50
important
minutes.
question as well. Trade facilitation basically has been at the heart of GOB's push to modernize our trade landscape. I think since 2020, we have been actively pushing a legislative and a reform agenda that would empower the development of digital platforms for trade facilitation. Certainly, we recognize that business who export from Belize export not only quality, but they are also exporting domestic competitiveness as well, and the TF landscape generally contributes to overall domestic competitiveness or improvement in competitiveness. So the legal framework that we're pushing has enabled electronic submissions, electronic signatures, integration, of course, of multiple agencies into shared digital platform and digital systems. And of course, these laws now affords Belize the opportunity to move from a paper-based system to a end-to-end digital trade facilitation solution. And our flagship project for this is the single window for trade. This is being funded through instruments from the IDB and, of course, support from the EU to get the single window up and running. And we have a 2-year time frame for this. The project has already started and it's on the way. And hopefully by 2026, we would have a fully operational single window for trade in Belize. And what the platform does, it allows traders from Belize um, to execute the customs clearance process from a online platform, a single window where all the documentation, all the approvals, all the payments are afforded through that platform. And as such, this initiative is underpinned by our national trade facilitation implementation plan, which was approved by the cabinet in 2021. And as such, that implementation plan has set ambitious goals for Belize. We intend to reduce the cost of trading across borders by 20%, and we hope to increase the time efficiency by 30% once this project is up and running. Those are baseline numbers, but what we've seen from these systems is that there's certainly room, once executed properly, for those numbers to drastically improve. If we look at Central America, they have a very robust trade facilitating mechanism across the borders, and as such, they can clear goods from within half hour to an hour, or even more efficiently than that. But certainly, Central America, they're our trading partners in a sense, but they're also our competitors when it comes to efficiency on the ground. And this leads to investment. This facilitate the investment effort. Companies or investors who want to come to Belize to invest wants these systems in place because they're available everywhere else where goods and services are moved across the border seamlessly in the least amount of time. And that's our goal here with TF.
Good, Andy, and that's certainly I can say for those who are exporting, we do know that that is functioning, and it's a really, really good move that you all are doing there. The other question I have for you though is how can Belize integrate more effectively into the regional and global value chain to expand our exports?
Yes. Thanks for that as well. Certainly, this is a very heavy question. And of course, from our perspective in the Ministry of Trade and all our partners in GOB, our ambition is to move from commodity production to a value addition platform. Certainly, we want to be able to move from the primary products to intermediary and finished good products for exports. We've seen certain moves on the ground to afford this to happen. Certainly, today, a MOU was signed for the creation of a refinery for sugar for Belize, something long in the making, something necessary to access the opportunities within the CARICOM market and beyond. I would say that critical to integrating into regional and international value chain is, as was mentioned earlier by the colleagues at the table, there has to be standards and quality, standards for technical regulations and standards for food safety. Those standards has to be in place. And we would have to be able to scale production to be able to supply these markets that we have access to. And we have significant amount of market access, primarily through CARICOM, which is a customs union. We have duty-free trade within CARICOM. We have access to the EU and the UK markets through economic partnership agreements. We have access bilaterally with Taiwan, who we've done good work with, and our shrimp producers can now access the Taiwanese markets through those standard and quality efforts that both the producers and the regulators were able to meet for Taiwan. So definitely, we have to pay attention to standards and quality. This basically denominates the entire trade effort, the entire ability to export goods from Belize is based on your ability to meet food safety standards and, of course, provide the quality necessary, um, or at least the quality being required by the buyers. So definitely, that's part of the platform. I want to focus in on a statement made earlier by Adam Stewart from Sandals. He made a mention. I won't quote him word for word, but he basically said that you have to work with what you have. And for trade, what we have primarily is the Caribbean single market and economy. When we talk trade and production, we have to think outside or rather than national. We have to be able to think regional, because the single market and economy is that space where our trade can flourish. Just to go into it a little bit, the CSME is ring fenced by what we refer to as the common external tariff, which is basically an import duty system that provides a degree of protection and assurance for producers within the community, and certainly producers in Belize. So while we have other agreements, those agreements basically are on the basis of depressed tariff systems and more market access. But within CARICOM, that gives us an assurance that what we produce in Belize could be taken up within the region. Why I'm excited about the sugar refinery issue is just this very reason. We are exporting significant quantities of brown sugar into CARICOM. I believe $30 million last year. But the sugar market in the CARICOM is, the bulk of it is refined sugar. That's a 200 to 300 million US dollar market. And with a refinery in Belize, we would have access to that market. We would be able to say to the manufacturers in Trinidad and Jamaica that we can finally produce the quality and specifications of sugar you want, and as such, we won't be granting any more suspension of the CET for those products. They would have to get it from Belize, or else they pay that 40% CET. So naturally, what the CSME does is provide you with a safe space to invest and trade. And sugar is not the only product within the CSME that can benefit. We have comparative advantage in a number of products in CARICOM if we're able to get the investments on the ground. I would just like to share some numbers, right? All these products that I'm going to list falls under this same CET safeguard mechanism, where you have an assured market, and if you can produce it, you can produce regional demand. Basically, you have access to the CARICOM market. For food, processed foods and beverages, for example, food preparation, Chapter 21 of the HS system. CARICOM imports 269 million US dollars over the last 5 years, right? Drilling down a little bit, Baker's Ware, $127 million into the CARICOM. Prepared meats, $61 million. I'm talking US dollars here. Vegetables and preserves, $100 million US dollars into the region every year. Chocolates and cocoa preps, $45 million US dollars into the region. Pasta, $32 million US dollars into the region each year. And we could go on to construction materials, cement, which Cementos Progreso was on the stage earlier. We import 153 million US dollars worth of cement into the region each year. These demand would be available to Cementos Maya if they determine to expand exports beyond the borders. Certainly, it's a wider market in CARICOM. It's a lucrative market in CARICOM if we're able to produce the products that are required by the region with the specifications and standard required by buyers.
Andy, thank you very much. Obviously, what you're seeing here is that you have a market, you need investors, you do have we do have to ensure that we have quality standards, as what we're just discussing. We must make sure, though, that we have consistency in supply, because you don't want to start and get into a business starting to export to your customer, and then a year or two later, or even less than that, you can't then supply. We're not very understanding of such, and so supply is a takeaway that we must make sure that when we get into these type of things, we can afford to do so. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I've been very, very managed with time, and so I do have time for one question if we can afford so. If you want to have somebody ask a question, otherwise we will wrap up for good reasons.
We have one person.
Hi, thank you so much for your discussion. I'm Amira and I'm the owner of Sangria Mia. Sorry, I just need to But so we're talking about exports and supplies and being able to have supplies. Now, one of the things that I've observed that is greatly concerning to me being a small business, and I'm in the light manufacturing, hoping that I can export in the future. But one of the things that concerns me a lot is accessibility to packaging. That is something that is very limiting for us as small business. I do feel that when it comes to bigger organizations, it is more accessible. But as a small business, it is so challenging. And not only as a small business, but also sustainable packaging. We promote sustainability. I am a sustainable business. Now, for me to get a glass bottle in Belize is so expensive. But aside from that, I still operate sustainably. I still refuse to use plastic packaging. So what do? I partner with hotels and wineries, get their bottles, clean it, sanitize it, and I use that to put it back on the market. So I repurpose it. So I am sustainable. But we do not have enough systems and support for small business to operate sustainably and also for it not to cost you so much. So I would like some input with regards to that, because I do feel that that limits us in terms of having more products on the market.
Thank you very much, Amira. You have 2 minutes to respond, Nick. Please,
It's
don't
not,
all jump in at once.
yeah, it's not easy. It's a big challenge for the majority of the MSMEs in the region. That's why you must look for regional programs, and you must look for associations that may allow you to improve this high cost of your business. No, this is one question. The other is to capability to scale your business. That's why I allow you to afford other kind of suppliers than keep you. It's time to make capabilities of your business, search for technical assistance and the correct finance instrument to make that. And it's not easy to find these three important variables. For example, it's not a coincidence that BELTRAIDE is our representative in Belize, and that's why we need to improve the growing of the small businesses to get the lower cost of your operation. There are programs that finance sustainability in the region. So if you want more information about that,
Make a point.
yeah.
Can I just jump in?
Yeah, just 1 minute. William.
Yeah, I'll just jump in. So I've heard the
was it,
complaint
Tony?
before here in
Thank you, right?
Belize, and I take it as it is. Yeah. What I can share with you, and with all the other small businesses here, by the end of the month, Caribbean Export is going to be launching a couple of grant calls. So there are going to be 2 windows. One that's going to actually be looking at helping firms navigate and undertake the green transition, under which I think your challenge may be found there. And then one that's going to be looking at digital transformation and moving firms a little bit along with their digital transformation efforts. This is financed by the European Union under the Global Gateway Program, and you should be able to see it by the end of the month. The second one that's going to be upcoming and going to be launching in Belize very soon is one that's going to be focused on women-led and owned firms. This is financed by the Canadian government, and we're going to be assisting firms in a lot of these standards and certifications, a lot of these challenges that you spoke about, to try to really get you into international markets and focusing specifically on the Canadian market. And so I don't have the specific solution, but I can offer you technical assistance via our projects, via our grant resources. They are going to be competitive, so please get your idea together, begin to put your proposal together, and by the end of the month, you should be able to see the opportunities come live. Thank you.
Let me just add 2 quick points as well.
Time don't up, you know.
Domestically, I know time is up, but these are important points. BELTRAIDE maintains an MEP program where small producers can access packaging materials through a waiver system. So you may want to explore what's possible through BELTRAIDE. Secondly, packaging material is a regional problem, especially glassware. And I have this statistic that I want to share for the investors in the room. CARICOM imports $78 million of glasswares or glass containers yearly. So it's an opportunity for investment. It's an opportunity to set up some processing facility that can produce bottles that are required within the region. And as such, that's why we're here, to share information as to what's possible. But I do know that when it comes to glassware, companies are very specific when it comes to design and shape, etc. So that's a hurdle that those who are business minded and want to go forward with an operation in that regard would have to consider.
Ladies and gentlemen, I wish I could stay longer with you all. But you know what is? The time has said it's time to leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you.